Hey, pond partiers. Rashid and I are hanging out at the pond again today with our friend Heron. But the thing we want to show you today isn't actually this huge bird. It's these plants down here. All the things that live in a pond fall into three categories. They have three jobs. They produce, they consume, or they decompose. Produce means that they make something. Consume means that they take something, and decompose means that they break something down. All right, let's take a closer look. Producers, consumers, and decomposers. You start with these plants right here. I brought a pond plant in from outside. Look at this nice, beautiful top green part on this water hyacinth. And then there's this kind of nasty looking, but honestly, delicious part that hangs down into the pond and also gets rooted into the side of the pond. So what is a pond plant's job? Well, it produces oxygen for us to breathe, like all plants and trees do. It also produces food for the very tiniest things living in the pond. They come right up to these plants on the side and they nibble away at the algae and other good stuff that's growing there. So here we have our rooted plants. And tiny, 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 tiny things like plankton, eat them. Yum. Now, what happens to these tiny guys? Well, who eats them? Things like fish, the small pond animals. They come along. Maybe even the frogs eat the flies and stuff that eat the stuff. And the small pond animals come along and they're happily swimming along. These small pond animals, like fish, they are consuming the even tinier things. They're also producing waste. They're pooping. They're also dying when their time comes. And what happens when a fish dies? Its dead body flows to the bottom of the pond. Remember that for later. So we have our small pond animals swimming along. What happens to them? Well, along come some bigger pond animals, things like turtles or herons. Bigger things. They eat the smaller pond animals. So what are they doing? They're consuming the smaller pond animals. They're also producing waste. They're also dying when their time comes. How can a heron be one of these animals? He doesn't live in the pond. Well, he spends a lot of time there. So he's still consuming pond things, and he's also producing waste that does end up in the pond. So the last piece of this puzzle, all of this waste and stuff that these animals are creating, whether it's their dead bodies or the things that they're pooping out, falls down to the bottom of the pond. And that's where, at the very bottom of the pond, you have a whole bunch of little tiny organisms called bacteria whose job is decomposers. They break down all the waste and dead stuff that falls to the bottom of the pond, and guess what it makes? This wonderful, rich stuff at the bottom of the pond that makes it really, really healthy for plants to keep growing and even for new plants to start growing. Can you see how the cycle then starts all over? This is a really neat cycle, and I'm sending you a picture like this that shows it. You can take a closer look. So also today, guys, we're taking the next step in time. Have you ever heard somebody say, it's 2:30, time to go? Or, what time is it, Miss Friesen? It's 10:30, break's over, right? So let me get my clock again. Today we're looking at what it means when an hour has gone half past. You have to remember something here before we do this. How many minutes are in an hour? Do you remember, Rashid? 40? He wasn't listening yesterday. He was too busy getting ready to dive into the pond. How many minutes are in an hour? 60 minutes are in an hour. So I want you to think about the time passing in two ways. I want you to think of the whole circle almost as a shape. And I also wanted you to think about the fact that 60 minutes are passing. What time is it on my clock right here? 3 o'clock. Good. Okay. 3 o'clock. Once my minute hand, my tall minute hand starts moving, the hour has begun. You can see on my big clock, now 5 minutes have passed, now 10 minutes have passed, 15 minutes have passed, 20 minutes have passed, 25 minutes have passed. Bing! Now, what time is it? First, let's just think of this as a circle, okay? If I just think of my clock face as a circle, how much of my circle has my minute hand covered? It's covered half of my circle. See that? So half of the hour has gone by. So you're going to see in your practice today, and when you look at the pages in this part, you're going to see that one way to tell this time is half past 3. Again, our hour hand is being a great helper here and giving a great hint. Because look, he's halfway between 3 and 4. How do I know it's not half past 4? Well, remember, we started at 3 o'clock, and as we went halfway around, the hour hand is going in the same direction as the minute hand. So when it's here, it's half past 3, okay? Another way that you can think about this is in the number of minutes that have gone by. I want you to think about this math problem. You know it instantly. What is 30 plus 30? 60. Right? What's 60 minus 30? 30. Again, you guys are so smart. You knew that instantly. But that's the second way that you can think about this time. So the first way you can say this time is half past 3. The second way you can tell this time is by saying it's 3:30, because when my minute hand has gone halfway around, it has covered 30 of the whole 60 minutes, okay? 30 minutes have passed. So you can say that it's 3:30, all right? Here we go at 3 o'clock. You remember yesterday how you wrote 3 o'clock. You wrote the hour and then our special symbol and how many minutes past the hour had gone by. None. It's right at the top, okay? Now, if I want it to be 3:30, I'm still going to have my 3 to tell my hour, and I'm still going to have my special symbol, but instead of zeros, I will tell that 30 minutes have gone by. 3:30, okay? Anytime my minute hand is pointing straight down at the 6, that means it's half past the hour. Let's try a couple, okay? Sometimes kids are tempted to say, I know, this is 3:06. That doesn't make sense, right? So let's try a couple in practice. Here we are at 5 o'clock, all right? To go to 5:30, I will go halfway around the circle to where 30 minutes have passed, okay? What about this time? What time time is it on my clock right now? I know that the hands move this way. So that means that this hand is moving like this. It's not going backwards, it's going that way. So if it's going that way, it's already past the 1. My hour hand's already past the 1, so it must be 1:30 or half past 1. All right? I hope this makes sense. It is really fun to practice with a clock, and I actually have tons of these. So if you think time's pretty fun and you want to come pick up a little baby one of these to practice with, just let me know. Otherwise, do the practice in your book. Hopefully it's not too hard. And you guys are becoming time professionals. So exciting. The last thing I want to tell you today is about our chicks. So we've got to just move down the table real quick. And I want to show you our eggs. Something important happened. Whenever an incubator only has 2 days left until hatch time, you have to stop it from turning, because what would happen if a baby chick came out and it was turning? It could get stuck, it could get caught. Once a real mom chicken realized her egg was hatching, she'd just leave it alone. She wouldn't keep pushing it around. So Ellie and I have stopped the machine from turning. The egg tray is not turning anymore every 45 minutes like it was before. And instead, we put in one of these mats. So when the babies hatch, they're going to come out onto this clean, bumpy mat, which helps them grip a little bit. And we're not going to open this for like a couple days, even after they hatch, because they eat the food that's already in their egg with them. Isn't that cool that God provided a way for chicks to eat right away when they're born? It's amazing. They eat the little membranes that are inside of the egg they just hatched out of. It also needs to stay very humid in there. Humid means moist, almost wet. So we're filling up our little water reservoir right over here. We're filling that up all the time. We're keeping it full so that it stays nice and humid, nice and moist in there. And the babies will hopefully do fine on their hatch. Guys, every once in a while, a chick starts to hatch and gets really tired. And, you just pray that they make it, okay? So, let's see. I know it's very hard for you guys to see, but this dark brown egg way over here, this guy right here, I don't think you can see it. Maybe you can. He already has pecked through the shell of the egg. There's a tiny, tiny, tiny little hole in the shell. So we know it's coming soon. So we'll keep you posted. Have a great day. Have fun telling time. And think about that cool cycle that happens in ponds. All right, guys. Talk to you soon.